Okay, so we're talking about if Salt Lake City's Jerusalem and most of the Bible took place in Utah and the surrounding states. The question is, isn't it super cold in Utah in the winter? I feel like the Bible would mention the snow and harsh winters. Okay, well, first of all, let's talk about snow in the Bible. So, snow actually is talked about in the Bible. There are 26 references in the Geneva Bible to snow. And then if you compare that to the word desert, there's 48 references to desert. Desert and wilderness are often kind of used either together or interchangeably. And with both snow and desert, some of those references are more like metaphorical and some are more literal. You'd have to kind of read through them one by one. But for example, here's one that's a little more literal, talking about him killing 2 lions like men of Moab, and that he slew a lion in a pit in the time of snow. So that's a literal reference to it being snowy, right? So yeah, there are references to snow. However, from what I'm seeing, also the climate was somewhat different back then. There seems to have been some climate change. From what I can tell, the entire continent of North America, probably the entire world, was what would be considered subtropical. Even Alaska. There is much evidence in Canada and Alaska of it having been a very tropical or subtropical region. Also, when the Great Basin was filled up with water, which is the Western Sea or the Great Sea or the Sea of the Philistines, it appears that would have made everything along the coast there, which is the west side of Utah, would have been along a sea coast, which would have made it, I believe, much more temperate. So it may have been there was less snow, at least down low. Maybe the snow was mostly higher up and more in the mountainous areas than it is today. Also, from reading Josephus, I'm seeing that it appears there were almost what looks like microclimates going on. He describes a valley where Jericho is, which is near Salt Lake City, that was very mild and temperate, had exceedingly good water, and basically the produce that they grew there, they could grow like 10 times as much produce there as anywhere else. And the people who lived there wore linen clothing all year round, even in the winter time. So it was like this little mini pocket of Eden type of situation going on, surrounded by a harsher climate. Also, there are fossilized palm trees found all over that area. So we know palm trees used to grow profusely in that area. Near Salt Lake City area is what I'm talking about. Which tells us it was probably warmer, right, at some point, or more temperate at least. Probably not the harsh winters like they have now. And my guess would be that would be because of that sea, the inland sea that used to exist. Or the climate overall as a whole has changed. But I mean, even today in Utah, there's a huge variance of weather. There is the harsh, cold winters and snow, and there are the dry, arid deserts, all within one state and everything in between. So, depending on what part of the Bible you're reading and what it's referencing, um, you know, it's going to depend on where in the state that is set. A lot of the storyline in the Bible is set in southern Utah in the deserts, right? Hebron, which is the main area Abraham was at, is more in the towards the south, so it's going to be warmer. Moses, all of that, they were in the desert that is still there today in southern Utah. And yet at the same time, like down in Nevada and the Egypt, Arizona through Nevada area, which was part of Egypt, which is desert today, was extremely fertile because they had very advanced irrigation systems going on that crisscrossed the state front to back. And we find that evidence from reading old writings from the 1800s, from when people first moved to that area, and they basically just cleaned out these systems and reutilized them, and they were highly advanced systems. So everything was a lot different. Well, and then also there was the destruction of of at least the whole area of Ammon and Moab and Edom and down into Egypt as prophesied in the Bible. And we can see that destruction in the state today. I personally believe that there was more destruction than that, and I don't know if it was different events or all the same event, but the entire west, at least, of the country from the Mississippi westward, especially the southwest states, were just flat destroyed at some point. So there's a lot of things that have changed. But there's also a lot of things that are still very, very much the same, which is fascinating. I mean, there are things I have found that are so precisely, exactly the same, that I'm just kind of mind blown. So anyway, that was a really long roundabout way to answer your question. But yes, there is snow mentioned in the Bible.